إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. Dear brothers and sisters, we begin by praising Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send peace and blessings upon the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon his companions, and upon all those who have treaded in their footsteps of righteousness and piety. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our presence and our attendance here today beneficial for all of us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to live our lives in full accordance to the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to leave this world with full iman. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with us. Ameen. During the month of Ramadan, we emphasized a lot on making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even during the month of Ramadan, even after the month of Ramadan, there was a lot of emphasis on making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how dua is in essence one of the greatest acts of worship and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of so many different things that we've spoken about. And oftentimes, every now and then we hear about these very magnificent, these very miraculous stories of people whose du'as have gotten accepted. We hear about different people, they were in a position where it seemed like nothing was working out for them. And through the power of du'a, everything turned around. And through the power of du'a, their entire lives changed. And there are many stories like that, many personal, many stories of different friends and families that we can recall. Just to give you an idea of how powerful dua can be. A family friend that I know of, their child, their son, was diagnosed with a brain tumor at the age of 10. And the doctor mentioned to the family, to the parents of that child, that the chance of your son surviving this operation is less than 1%. The tumor had gotten so large that if they tried to extract the tumor, if they tried to remove the tumor, it would damage the brain to such an extent that it would just completely turn the body off, and the body will no longer be able to function, and therefore the individual would pass away. He would die. And this person's mother made so much dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please allow this surgery to go well and let it be a success. Right? On one hand, you have the doctor saying that there's only 1% chance, maybe even less than 1% chance that this child will survive the surgery. And if he does survive, then there's even a lower chance that the child will recover, that the child will go back to a normal state. Right? That's how risky the surgery was. Yet, the parents of this child said, go ahead with it, and they made sincere dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can you imagine a mother at that stage, at that situation, during those circumstances, what sort of dua that she'll make, how sincere her dua will be, that when the mother makes dua for her child in such a sensitive, difficult moment, how sincere that dua will be. That she's making dua, she's not focused on anything else, her full concentration, her full attention is on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She's given up hope on everything. The doctor isn't saying that there's a 100% chance of success. The doctor is saying the exact opposite. So she's not worried about, she's not relying on anything. Her full reliance is on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Her full trust is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the manner in which she's making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That surgery went through. And after the surgery was a success, and the recovery rate of that young boy was also a success. After the surgery went through, the doctors were very surprised. They were shocked. They were saying that we did not believe that the child would be able to survive the surgery. But the child did. And then the doctors came back and said to the parents that, the surgery was a success, but we cannot promise that the recovery of the child will also be a success. They said most likely the child, this young boy, he'll be left paralyzed. He won't be able to move. He'll be bedridden for the rest of his life, right? And he'll be so paralyzed that you have to feed him through a straw. But after a few weeks, alhamdulillah, that child, that young boy, was walking. He was talking. And now fast forward, I know this young man personally. He's a very close friend, family friend. And now after about 10, 15 years, you wouldn't even know that there was an issue with this young man. That he underwent such a traumatic, such a difficult, such a devastating surgery. Right? Completely normal young man. Completely functional, healthy. This was not just a matter of chance. This was through the power of dua. This is just one of the many examples, one of the many stories of people whose dua was sincere, and regardless of what the odds looked like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted that person's dua. Regardless of how difficult situations were, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted that person's dua. And from complete, complete destruction, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought them to a place where everything was perfect and even better. So we make dua like this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for these kind of things. But oftentimes it happens that our du'as are not accepted. And we've been speaking a lot about making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the virtues and the rewards of making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But for today's khutbah, what we want to emphasize and focus on is why our du'as don't get accepted. One of the things that we've mentioned over and over again is that when we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a number of things can happen. Either what we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, that exact item or that exact thing is given to us. Right? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a new home, a new car, whatever it may be. And we get very, very specific. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us exactly what we ask for. Right? Or maybe we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow me to pass all my exams with A's, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us exactly what we're asking for. Or it may be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give us exactly what we're asking for, rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us something different, something which is much better for us. Or it may be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the power of that dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give us what we're looking for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give us something better, but rather through the power of that dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala diverts a misfortune, a calamity, something dangerous, something, a calamity that was supposed to happen to us. Through the power of that dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala diverts that calamity. Or it could be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stores the reward of that dua for us in the hereafter and gives it to us in the hereafter. Right? So we know that that's what happens when we make dua, when our du'as are accepted. But what about in the situation when our du'as are not accepted? What happens? Why is it that we make dua and sometimes our du'as are not accepted? So that's our entire focus of today's khutbah. That what are actions and why is it that when we make dua, our du'as are not accepted? And if we can realize this, inshallah, every time we make dua, our du'as will be accepted, and it will manifest itself in one of those forms, in one of those shapes, in one of those ways. A very beautiful saying of a scholar, Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he says that dua is like a weapon, right? Al-ad'iyatu wat-ta'awudat bi-manzilati silah. That dua is like a weapon. And depending on the weapon itself, depending on the person who's using the weapon, and depending on the circumstances, you will notice the effectiveness of that weapon. In other words, what he's saying is that if you have an instrument, a weapon, a sword, right, but that sword is very dull, it's not sharp, no matter what you do with it, it's not going to be that effective. it may hurt a person, but it's not going to do its intended damage, right? Why? Because the weapon itself is dull. It's not functional. It's defective. Or it could be that you have a very, very sharp sword. You have a very, very functional, very, very capable weapon, yet the person who is handling that weapon, that instrument, doesn't know how to use it, or is weak, or is incapable, or doesn't really know how to use it to its full effectiveness. So the person is at fault. Or it could be that the person is fully capable of using that weapon. The weapon itself is functional, but the person that they are attacking has defended themselves and is completely protected. And therefore, it's not effective. So it could be a number of different things. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he says that dua is very similar. Either the dua itself is incorrect, and that's why the dua is not accepted. It could be that the method of which a person is making dua, right, the method and the circumstances in which the person is making dua is ineffective, is incorrect, inappropriate, and therefore the dua is not accepted. Or it could be that the person making the dua is defective. The person making the dua is incapable. The person making the dua is not compatible. So it could be one of these three things, or all of these three things, that prevent our du'as from being accepted. Just like how you have an instrument, a weapon, a device. All these different things need to be in place in order for it to function correctly. Likewise, dua is exactly the same, right? If we are defective in nature, if we are unaware of how to make dua, or if we are asking for the incorrect things, then our du'as are not going to be accepted. There's a specific procedure, there's a specific method, and there are certain requirements for a person's dua to be accepted. So the first thing that we want to speak about are the integral aspects of dua, right? What are the necessary items that are needed so that our dua can get accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The first and foremost important thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, وَدُعُوهُ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. وَدُعُوهُ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. That make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, call unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. With full sincerity, believing fully in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? When we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be sincere. What does that mean? What does it mean to be sincere in our dua? That number one, we realize, we acknowledge, and we understand that whatever it is that we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give it to us, regardless of the circumstances and the situation. When we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have full confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? We're not making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner where it's just formality. Right? That after salah everybody makes dua, or after a certain occasion everybody makes dua. It's just out of formality. Or we're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we really don't have that hope, that conviction that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept our du'as. Right? So it's a matter of the state of our mind and the state of our heart. That when we're making dua, we're not completely sincere. We're making dua, but deep down in our hearts, we're thinking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will really not be able to accept our dua, will fulfill our dua, or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not give us what we're looking for, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't give us what we're looking for. Or it may be that when we're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're really relying on ourselves rather than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Before a job interview, we're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please allow me to get this job. Please allow this job interview to go well. But in the back of our minds, in the depths of our heart, what we're really saying to ourselves is that because I'm so good at talking, because I'm so eloquent, I'm so tactful, because I have so many credentials, that's why I'll get accepted. Not because through the mercy and through the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us what we're looking for. Right? So when we're making dua, we're relying on ourselves and our credentials and other circumstances rather than relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the first thing. When we make dua, it has to be sincere. مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. So that is the first and foremost integral aspect that needs to be present when we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner where we completely rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not on the means, not on ourselves, not our credentials, not anything else. Rather, we rely totally on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Going back to the story of that mother who was making dua for her son. What was going through her mind? She was not relying on the doctors. She was not relying on the medicine, on the technology. Why? Because the doctors had already told her that there's 0% chance of the survival of your son. Her full reliance, her full tawakkul was on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the difference that dua made. That's the biggest difference, right? If a person, in the back of their mind, they're saying that, all this technology, all this medicine, all these great doctors, they're going to make the difference, then chances are, when that person is making dua, they're not really sincere in making dua. Because their trust is in other things. Their trust is not in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their trust is not in the Creator, rather their trust is on the creation. So that's the first and foremost integral aspect when a person is making dua. That regardless of what our dua is, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ask. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, read the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner where we ask for as much as we want. Right? The Sahaba radiallahu anhum said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us permission to ask for anything, then we may ask for so much. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahu Akbar. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give you so much even beyond your dreams. So don't be afraid to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you do so, do it with the conviction, with the sincerity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is in control and that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will give it to you. Right? If this aspect, if this integral point or this conviction is missing, then the dua will not be accepted. The second thing, the second integral aspect of dua, of getting our du'as accepted, is to make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? To make tawbah and return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Nuh alayhi salam, he says to his people, فَقُلْتُ اسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ غَفَّارًا يُرْسِلِ السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِدْرَارًا وَيُمْدِدْكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ جَنَّاتٍ وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ أَنْهَارًا. In essence, what Nuh alayhi salam is saying to his people is, if you make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you ask forgiveness for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from your disobedience, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you everything you're asking for. Right? So this is the second thing which prevents our du'as from being accepted. That we are not returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are not making tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our entire lifestyle is such that it is in disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands. That everything we do, everything we say, the way we make our living, what we earn, all this is in disobedience and not in accordance to the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to live our lives. And therefore, our du'as are not being accepted. A very powerful hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, and this hadith is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he says, قال Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, يا أيها الناس إن الله طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, O people, understand and realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is tayyib. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept anything except that it is pure. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to accept a person's charity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to accept the person's donation, generosity, dua and prayer if they are not pure. What does that mean, if it's not pure? Meaning if it's not sincere. Right? If our dua, if our prayer is not sincere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept it. If our charity is not sincere, if our zakat, if our sadaqah is not sincere, or if our wealth is impure wealth, and from our impure wealth we're giving sadaqah and charity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to accept that. And then he says, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَ الْمُتَّقِينَ بِمَا أَمَرَ بِهِ الْمُرْسَلِينَ فقال يا أيها الرسل كلوا من الطيبات واعملوا صالحا إني بما تعملون عليم وقال يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من الطيبات ما رزقناكم. He says, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded the believers with the same thing which He has commanded the prophets. And that is, O messengers, O believers, eat of that which is pure and do good, righteous actions. And that when you eat from that which is halal for you. Right? From the halal things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives us an example of a man. He says, الرجل يطيل السفر, that there's a man who has been traveling a very, very long distance. One of the things that we know from the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ is that du'as are readily accepted when a person is traveling, right? So this person is traveling. So you already know that this person is in a situation where their du'as are being accepted. And he says, Ash'ath Aghbar, that this person has been traveling so much that when you look at him, his entire body is aghbar, is covered in dirt. And you look at this person, his hair is disheveled. Their clothes are all ragged and dirty. Why? Because this person has been traveling for so long, going through so much difficulty. Right? So this person is in that prime situation where their dua is going to be readily accepted. However, despite being in such a auspicious, such a having that opportunity where their dua is accepted, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept that person's dua. Why? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes on to say, يَمُدُّ يَدَيْهِ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ يَا رَبْ يَا رَبْ وَمَطْعَمُهُ حَرَامٌ وَمَشْرَبُهُ حَرَامٌ وَغَذِيٌّ بِالْحَرَامِ فَأَنَّى يُسْجَابُ لِذَلِكَ. He says, this person who is in this situation where their dua is readily accepted, raises his hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and says, Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give me this, give me that. This person is making sincere dua, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept that person's dua. Why? Because their mat'amuhu haram. The food that they've eaten is haram. It's not halal food. What they've drunk, the drinks that they've consumed is not halal. Their income is not halal. Right? From their income, they're buying food, and therefore that food is haram for them. So their entire lifestyle, everything that they're consuming is haram. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying that how can this person's dua be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when everything that they're consuming, everything that they're putting in themselves is impermissible, is haram, is in disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So if our du'as are not being accepted, this could be a reason. We have to be very careful with the sort of income we're generating. Where is our income coming from? Are the sources of our income halal sources? If you look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made impermissible for us, 99% of the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made halal for us. Okay, let's say 95% of the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made halal for us. It's just that 5% which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said you can't do. Right? There's just 5% of occupations and trades and jobs which we as Muslims are not allowed to do. Right? You can't open up a liquor shop, right, and say that's halal money for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made that forbidden for us. Right? Gambling, lottery, these things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made haram for us. Right? So if that is a source of our income, and we're using that to feed ourselves, feed our families, then going back to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's saying, فَأَنَّ يُسْجَابُ لِذَلِكَ. How can that person's dua be accepted when everything they are consuming, their income that they're earning, is haram in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So these are the two main important things that we need to keep in mind when we are making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That number one, we have to check our sincerity. We have to check our conviction that when we're making dua Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are we really relying on? Are we relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us what we're asking for? Or are we simply making dua out of formality and really relying on ourselves or other aspects and other means, other people? That's the first thing. The second thing is when we're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in what condition are we making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? In what manner are we approaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are we approaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a situation, in a manner where our entire lives are filled with disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now we come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show us His mercy? That years of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now we want the cooperation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the two most important things, or the two things which prevent our du'as from being accepted. Right? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to realize how important these things are, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to live our lives in a manner where we can stay away from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whereby when we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have full conviction, full tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that our du'as are accepted. آمين. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن المجيد ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات وذكر الحكيم. أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته. Dear brothers and sisters, now that we know what actions prevent our du'as from being accepted, inshallah we can work on removing those aspects from our lives. That when we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we want to divert all our attention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have full trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be accepting our dua and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fulfill our needs and our wants. Not that because of our credentials or because of our capabilities will make things happen. Rather, we rely and trust solely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second thing is that we have to play our part. Right? We have to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the best of our abilities. We have to stay away from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to stay away from, especially when it comes to consumption of haram items, when it comes to the way we earn our living. If all this is in line, or let's put it like this, if this is not in line with the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to live our lives, then we cannot expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to readily accept our du'as. Now, we want to go over a few recommended actions which a person can do in order so that their dua is accepted. We spoke a little bit about the different conditions in which a person's dua is accepted. That when a person is traveling, that their duas are accepted. When a person is fasting, their duas are accepted. If a person who is being oppressed, right, a person who is being oppressed, treated unjustly, their duas are accepted. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us a very, very stern warning that be careful of da'watul madlum. That be very careful not to oppress people, not to treat people unjustly, or to take away people's rights. Because if those people make dua against you, then that's destruction for a person. And all these people that are being treated unjustly, that are being oppressed, right? These people are, whether they're Muslim or not, they are calling on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? All the injustices and all the oppression that we see around us, these people that are being treated like this are making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Whether they're Muslim or not, they're calling on to a God. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is hearing them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept their du'as, and all these tyrants, all these people that are oppressing people, they will get what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for them. So a person who is being oppressed, their dua is readily accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Da'watul muttar, a person who is going through a very difficult circumstance, a person who is going through a lot of difficulty and hardship, that person's dua is readily accepted. And another situation is when a Muslim makes dua for another Muslim brother, that dua is accepted. So, say for example, I make dua for my brother or I make dua for my friend in their absence, then that dua is accepted, and not only is it accepted, but whatever dua that we make for our Muslim brother or sister in their absence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that as well. Right, so if we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, protect my friend or protect my brother or whatever the case, that dua is then given to us as well. Not only is it given to that person we're making dua for, but also to us. Right? Now, some actions that we can take. When we make dua, face the qibla, right? Be in a state of purity. Make wudu when you make dua, right? When we begin our dua, start off with praising Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Start off with sending salah and salam upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these are all actions which, when we do, there's a higher chance of our dua being accepted. And another very important point which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says in the hadith, he says, "Ta'arraf ila Allah fi al-rakha, yu'arrifuka fi shiddah." That if you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during times of ease and comfort, right? You're in a position where everything is going your way, you're very comfortable, you're happy, you're satisfied. During those circumstances, during those conditions, stages of your life, if you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then during difficult circumstances, during difficulties and hardships, your du'as will be accepted, right? So the point is that we want to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all instances, all stages and all phases of our lives, right? Not just when we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rather even when we are in a position where everything is great, we have to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we want our du'as to be readily accepted when we are going through some sort of difficulty or some sort of problem. And lastly, the last thing that we want to mention over here is that in order for our du'as to be accepted, not everything has to be in line, right? A person should not think that, oh, just because I'm doing this or I'm doing that, my dua is not going to be accepted, and therefore I'm not going to make dua, right? That's shaitan's trickery. That's shaitan's way of tricking a person from not making dua at all. What the person should do, what all of us should do, is have the sincere intention and this commitment to ourselves that we will try our best to live our lives in accordance to the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us to. If you have that sincere commitment, if you live your lives accordingly, right? If you really struggle and you make an effort to live our lives the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to live our lives, then regardless of the shortcomings that we have, regardless of the sins that we commit, inshallah, as long as we make tawbah and as long as we reaffirm our commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will accept our du'as. Right? So it's not, a person should not think, oh, just because I'm doing this or I'm doing that, therefore I shouldn't make dua because my dua is not going to be accepted. That's the incorrect way of thinking. Instead, we should tell ourselves that we are going to make a commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we will change, and therefore our du'as will be accepted. Right? As we always say, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not worried about the results. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned about our efforts, right? Our intentions. If our intentions are sincere, if our efforts are sincere, if our actions are sincere, regardless of what the results may be, regardless of whether or not we slip, have shortcomings and make mistakes, it's the intention and the sincerity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks for. And it's through that our du'as are accepted. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to realize, and this is something very important actually. We forget the importance of dua. That we see everything around us, there's a lot of oppression and injustice that's going on. And as many of us are aware of all the children that are, the horrible things that are happening to the children in the southern border of our country, right? These children that are being separated from their families. And we look at all this and we say, we have to do something. We have to donate, we have to give charity to the organizations, groups that will help them out. Sometimes we forget that the controller of all these things is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that one sincere dua can change everything. Right? And that no matter how much action we take, no matter how much wealth we have, no matter how much power and status we have, none of this can make any difference except with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So along with our efforts to do good and to make things happen, we have to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala solely. Right? So, don't ever underestimate the power, the significance of dua. Because a person who has experienced the power of dua firsthand will tell you that dua is simply miraculous. That through the power of dua, anything can be achieved. Right? And we have to continue to make dua. If the dua that we're making is incorrect, or if we are defective in our dua, then obviously we're not going to see those results. Right? So if we want our du'as to be accepted, if we want to have this powerful, handy tool at our disposal, we have to make sure that the way we're making dua, that when we're making dua, and that we as Muslims are worthy for our du'as to be accepted. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to realize the significance and importance of dua. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it such that our du'as are always accepted. Ameen. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'idukum la'allakum tadhakkarun.